One of the key things that you guys need to know about how this is set up is that this is set up as a webinar and not as a meeting. And as a webinar, it means that the attendees, so everybody who's listed as attendees, are all on mute and your video is off. And you guys can't turn your video on or the noise or your your mic on because of the way this is set up. All the presenters and stuff like that will be able to join in. But if you have any questions, we have a chat and you can put it in the chat. And if you have, we also have a Q&A and you can put it in the Q&A. And Rayette's monitoring both of those, so she may interrupt me as we go with your questions and go, hey, this person's asking this, and so I can address your questions. So don't feel like your questions aren't going to be answered. We're working on it. We're kind of making sure that there's multiple people keeping an eye out. Okay. So one of the things that I really, sorry, there. So I have a whole bunch of different presenters coming, including Rayette's going to be helping me out. Most of you guys know who Rayette is. Rayette Martin's the program assistant, so she's the other person who works in my office. We also have Rachel Cruz from the BLM in Carson City, and she's going to tell you a little bit about what she does. And then we have Jake Hickerson from the BLM in Caliente, but he works for Basin and Range National Monument. And we have Logan Briscoe, who's BLM Supervisory Law Enforcement Ranger, who's going to talk to you a little bit about how law enforcement handles your reports. We have Betty Conway, who's the Regional Coordinator for Gold Butte National Monument. Not by herself, but she's one of the two. And then we have Greg Nord, who's the Regional Coordinator for Red Rock Desert National Wildlife Refuge and the Forest Service Spring Mountains. And they all are gonna do little bits and pieces, so it's not just me talking to you the whole time. So like I said, thank you for coming and for taking time out of your weekend to join us. And feel free to ask questions at any time through the chat or the Q&A. And I may be skipping around a bit as we go because our guest speakers are scheduled for specific times. So they may talk about something that would have fit better in later on, but that's okay. I've never done this presentation before, so timing is not something I have quite understood yet. The introductions, well, I just told you about all the different speakers. You'll see them as we go. And you guys, there's 41 of you, so I'm not going to introduce everybody individually, but I am going to welcome everybody. And Rayette is also going through and checking you guys off and making sure we know who just attended.
I can't get their miles and hours, though. I'm joking.
I think it's fair to say none. Okay. So what we're going to go over today, we're going to do a quick stewardship program recap. Then we're going to talk about ARPA. And then our guest speakers are going to talk about various different things that they do. And then we're going to talk about safety and emergency response procedures. And then go over what to do on a site visit and how to complete the monitoring reports, photography, ways to improve photography, and then photo and monitoring report submission. And I'm going to tell you right now that a lot of these, like some of these, I had sent out a list of here's all the ones that we can talk about. And I heard a bunch of people contact me back going, can you please include this or please include that? So some of these topics might be like, well, yeah, I know that already. But other people have actually requested it. So those are going to be in there. And then the monitoring report photo submission is a whole new thing. It is not something that you have ever worked on before. This is the first time I've taught this particular process, because we have created a process that we are hoping will be easier than trying to email us stuff and mail us stuff and use Google Drive and convert things in various different ways and shrink all your photos and all that stuff that you have to do in order to submit things. And so I'm hoping that this process you find much easier to do. Okay, so I have a series of polls that I want you guys to do. So this will be the first one. If you guys could each answer this question, which of these would you say is the biggest difficulty to stewardship? And all you need to do is select one of them and push enter, I think. Okay. This is really helpful for us because when we're trying to do trainings and we're trying to find ways to get you more involved, the easiest way for us to do that is to have an idea of what kind of things will increase involvement and what kind of things are the most frustrating things that you have to get through in order to be able to work with us. And you guys are this is the perfect time and perfect opportunity to be able to get people to do that, to tell me those things, so that way I can make sure that we focus on the things that you guys are most frustrated with. So, well, I've got 92 of you, or 92%. So it looks like the main things are finding the time and filling out the forms and submitting the forms. And the drive to sites is up there as well. So we will definitely be, I can't do anything about the time. I'm sorry. Oh, by the way, I keep looking up because the screen that I have the presentation on is higher up than where the camera is. But I can't do anything about the finding the time, but I can help you with filling out the forms. And so that's one of the main things that we're doing today. Okay, and polling. I can share the results so you guys can see it too. Okay. Okay, so I sent you a bunch of paperwork. I sent you the latest version of the manual. Then we also sent you an emergency information packet that I'm going to go over. And all of these, except for the manual, I'm going to go over during class. You also have a resources packet. You have a monitoring report packet. And then you have the DB Gallery monitoring report submission guide. And all of those were in the same email, except for the emergency packet, which I sent you right after that. And if you didn't get them, that's okay. Let us know and we will make sure that you get them. And I'm going to be screen sharing with some of them as well as we go. Okay, the stewardship program. The stewardship program right now is Rayette Martin and myself doing bits and pieces. Rayette's mostly been working this year on setting up the stewardship program for state parks, primarily in Lincoln County, but just for state parks in general. And then I have been running everything else. And which has been really good to be able to see how everything functions together. And we've been learning a lot as we've been going through this process, because we've not really done a lot of setting up a new program before for a different organization. The state parks is very different from the federal agencies that we normally work with. We also have our regional coordinators, Rick Prasad, Michelle Burkett, Betty Conway, Joan Johnson, Greg Nord, and Jeff Thalen. And if you haven't met them, they're great to know. I'm going to stop sharing and let Betty tell you a little bit about what they do. So Betty, turn your camera and mic on, and I'm going to turn mine off.
What's happening?
You're good to go.
Oh, I'm good to go. Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Wonderful to have such a wonderful attendance for this. I've been a site steward for more years than Samantha's been with the program. But when she came into the program, I was asked to be a regional coordinator. And my first concern, and the first thing I had to do as a regional coordinator was to learn all the sites. The Go Butte area has a wealth of petroglyphs and pictographs and shelters and historic stuff as well. So I was fortunate in going out with Samantha and Riette and the archaeologists in early 2013 or mid 2013, doing baselines. And that helped me to be prepared to be a regional coordinator, because how was I going to do a site introduction when I didn't know the site? So that's been still a process of learning, but with the help of some data that Samantha was able to share with us as RCs, it's made it a little easier. So my primary job, I think, is site introductions, to take out new stewards to the sites and make sure that they're comfortable with getting out there, finding everything, and then encouraging them to do their baseline photos and making sure they know, they learn it all in the class, but then to actually get out on the site is a different process. And all of you have been stewards and know what that first introduction to your site is like. I remember mine. I remember the archaeologist at the time, Mark Boatwright, saying, well, just wander around, you'll find all sorts of things. And it was true, because there's still more things that even sometimes have been documented. The second thing I think is important in my job is to assist Samantha in the training sessions. We go to the training sessions.
Hey, Betty.
Yes.
We are all kind of having a hard time hearing you. I got my volume almost all the way up.
Really?
So I don't know if there's a way to make you a little bit louder.
Let me see what I can do here. Volume check. Is that better?
Not really.
Can
you yell at us?
I've got it as loud as it'll go. It's up to me.
Okay.
Can you hear me better? I'll try to talk louder, okay?
Nah, it's okay. Some people said they couldn't hear you, but yeah, as loud as you can would be helpful.
Okay, I'll try really hard. I typically talk low. I have a terrible time with masks, by the way. People never can understand me, so I talk too low anyway. So I was talking about training classes, and that we go and participate, but one of the main things I try to get out of a training class is to assess the new stewards. We have a lot of problems with retention. People come to the classes, they sign up for a site, we spend a whole day with them, taking them out to the site, and then I never see them again. And so I try during the training session to say, hey, this is a long drive, it's a rough road, there's hiking involved. What kind of vehicle do you have? How far can you hike? Just assessing comfort level before we even assign them to a site. I really wish at that point someone would just say, no, I guess I don't want to do this, but I think I've had that happen once. So then this next thing that I think we're involved in is retention, trying to keep people enthused in the program. I've had some parties at my house to try to introduce all the stewards to each other and make them feel like they're more a part of a bigger organization, because once we're out there stewards, we're pretty much on our own, except for our communications with Samantha and our RC. We had a field trip last year. We went down to Lost City Museum. We had a special tour there for our group. But it's hard to keep people enthusiastic, and we do lose a lot of people. Some people never show up after the site introduction, and it's very disappointing. The other thing we do, Michelle and I, Michelle Briquette, by the way, is the other RC for Gold Butte. She and I were in our training class together originally way back. I can't even remember what year it was. Anyway, she and I were trained in graffiti removal. And one of our projects too is in coordination with the archaeologist and Samantha and getting permissions and all those kind of things, is helping to take care of some of the graffiti that we have in Gold Butte. We also have been asked to go out and do damage assessment for various things that have happened. This latest thing we've been doing is documenting some new sites with the help of Rayette and Samantha and the archaeologists, sites in Gold Butte that hadn't gotten into the State Historic Preservation's Office database. And I guess finally, and this may be more of a personal thing, but it's also the way I feel about being having some responsibility for Gold Butte, is to be an advocate for Gold Butte, to wherever I can educate people on how to handle themselves out there. And we go to city council meetings when there's any subject about Gold Butte, which we've had several with all the Bundy issues out there. We've written some articles and about, things going on or whatever. Anyway, I love Gold Butte. I love this program. I hope to stay active in it for as many more years as I can. And thank you, Samantha, for letting me participate.
No problem. I'm always grateful for you guys to participate. So, and thank you so much for doing this.
You're welcome.
Okay.
I'm muted now. Yeah. I'm muted.
So, okay, so I figured since you guys are current stewards, I don't need to tell you what you need to do necessarily, but I thought it'd be better to be able to show you some of our numbers. The site stewards, the number of site stewards in the program tends to stick around about 300 to 350 on any given year. And we still have a good number of people who sent in their volunteer agreements this coming year. The sites that are stewarded, we tend to be around about 300. With most of them, the number of sites visited tends to be around 200. And then, but this year, as you can see, all of our numbers are down, dramatically down. But it's completely understandable. This was a completely different type of year than we've ever had before. But you guys do a lot of work with so many visits, like close to 500 visits to sites, and do a lot of driving, like 47,000 miles or 48,000 miles. That's a lot. So we're super appreciative of all the stuff that you guys do. And you guys, when you do come up and report things, all of these things are great, because if we didn't have people out there looking at these sites and reporting things, there's so many things we would miss, and so many things where we could have done something about them that we couldn't have otherwise. But I thought, since I normally send this out to the agencies, that you guys as stewards might want to see the numbers too. We cover the whole state. And so if you've been a long time steward, but you've never gone anywhere, we do have sites all over the state. And we have some sites where they only get visited when people want to go on vacation and drive by. So should you go on vacation to other parts of the state and want to visit other sites, let us know, because we've got lots of them. We work with lots of different agencies. We are now in the process of including state parks, like what Rayette's doing. Nevada Division of Wildlife, but only a small, tiny portion. And that's not going to be opened up to normal volunteers. But state parks will eventually be opened up for volunteers. And then we have a couple of different counties that we're currently working on as well. So we're going to be spread out all over a lot of different places. For a long time, we've been mostly just working with federal agencies. So this is all a new process for us. So what do we steward? I know most of you guys have been in this program for so long. You've seen them all, but we have all kinds of things that we steward. And they're like if you're Betty was telling me the other day, they had gone up to Lincoln County to look at some sites there, and she's been spending so much time in Gold Butte. She's like, it was entirely different. The rock art was entirely different. It was a whole different experience. And I have found over the years, as I've gone to places all over the state, that everything, no matter where you are, is very, very different. And it's great to be able to see all the different types of sites. And in the north, like in southern Nevada, mostly what we have for habitation sites is rock shelters. But in northern and central Nevada, we do have things like wiki-up sites, which are pretty cool. And then we have all our historic sites. And they are a whole variety, everything from ghost towns to arborglyphs, which are, you can see on the bottom, they're Basque tree carvings in aspen trees that go all the way across from Elko all the way through to California. And we have cemeteries, and we have charcoal kilns, we have mines, and we have all kinds of different things. So whatever you're interested in, let me know. And if you want to travel, we can definitely get you started. And then why we steward. We steward because if you haven't seen it so far, these sites really do get hit, and these sites really have impacts to them. And especially right now when there's more people recreating, it's going to be more important to have stewards checking on them to make sure that they're okay, so we can respond to anything. Okay, so I don't know if I've talked to you in person or not, but I spent the entire summer rebuilding our website. And so it's got a whole bunch of new things on it. And one of the new things that it has on it are archaeology links. So we were doing some artifact identification classes before this whole shutdown, and I'm hoping to do them virtually, but they take a little bit of work to get set up, and I haven't quite had the time to do it yet. But we wanted to give you artifact identification guides and things like that, links where you can easily go and find those. And so we do have a page that's Stewardship, Archaeology, and History links. And there's a whole bunch of stuff on there that will help you if you want to go out and get to know these sites. I see there's a question. Oh, yes. The URL for the SHPO site. It is.
I'll put it in the chat for everybody.
Yeah, and we're going to go through it later. So if you want, I'm going to show you just like a brief tour of it before we finish. So you'll be able to see that too. Okay, anyway. Preservation laws. Well, I know you've all trained before, but most of you know about the Archaeological Resource Protection Act. I cut it down to just this law because this law is the biggest one that we work with. And it really defines how we do a lot of our stuff. Basically, it is a law that protects cultural resources and has a penalty up to $250,000 and up to 2 years in jail. And it makes it illegal for people to go and damage or loot archaeological sites. And so a lot of times when we go out and we do photography, and when we go out and we do, we record things, the way we teach you how to do it has to do with making sure that your photography and your records can be used in an ARPA case to be able to go against anybody who happens to do something bad to your site. And so a lot of what we do is with that. Now, whenever you submit reports and I send them to the agencies, they look through them and they're trying to figure out, is this an ARPA case? Is it not? You know, how do we handle these things? So I'm a little early on this. So if Rachel, if you're ready, I was going to have, oh yes. And we have the one other thing, sorry. The one other thing is it's illegal to disclose site locations. So basically what it means is we gave you sites and we gave you their information. You just can't share that with your friends and family. But most of you guys have been around for so long. You've been wonderful stewards this whole time. So I'm not even worried about that. But I do like this drawing because it is kind of telling.
This is a good question we got that people would want to hear the answer to is, can we disclose public sites?
You can. What we generally tell people is you can disclose public sites. You just don't tell them that you steward there, because we might give you more information than the average public knows. But yeah, you can do that, because I take my parents to public sites so they can actually see what kind of stuff I do for a living. But it's one of those things of just be careful on how much information you share.